Hi, I am Tara Heilman, and I'm going to be presenting on the Common Core article called The Common Core Ate My Baby and Other Urban Legends. It's by Timothy Shanahan. He talks about 5 different legends that are kind of going around teachers right now about what's to come of the Common Core. The first legend says that the new standards prohibit teachers from setting purposes for reading or discussing prior knowledge. The legend kind of came about when the writers of the ELA standards, they suggested a set of criteria that publishers could use to develop the books so that they were more matched up with Common Core. And then states quickly ran out and got these books and invested in them as like the primary sources for implementing the Common Core. Amongst the criteria, there was a lot of claims that pre-reading and background knowledge weren't necessary to the reading process. And then the writers that originally suggested the information, they quickly revised the whole publisher's criteria after the big uproar of disagreement came about. But many schools had already run out and bought the materials. So the point through the discussion in this article is that pre-reading and accessing background knowledge, they're both still valued in the Common Core, but there's more focus put on rereading the text and like the follow-up that comes afterward. The preparation to read doesn't really have to be that big of a deal if teachers can still conduct sufficient comprehension, building through the multiple reads of the text. The second legend was teachers are no longer required to teach phonological awareness, phonics, or fluency. With No Child Left Behind emphasizing those 3, a lot of educators view that the Common Core, they claimed that it turned away from that whole approach. This article, it counteracts this claim by pointing out that the new standards are just organized differently. So they're still there, but they're listed after the comprehension standards. So the point that through this legend that the article was making, that the Common Core still has that section. It's called Reading Foundational Skills, and it describes phonological awareness, phonics, and fluency goals. So the claim that it wasn't in there is not true. Legend 3 was English teachers can no longer teach literature in literature classes, with the goal of the Common Core being trying to get or prepare students for college and careers after high school. One of the ways that they're trying to make that happen is by using more informational text as opposed to like fictional literature. But the change is not going to affect actual literature classes themselves. The change is going to happen across more disciplines like science and social studies. So they're going to be the ones using a lot more informational, like non-fictional text. So it's not true. The fourth legend was teachers must teach students at their frustration levels, meaning the level that's the hardest to them, that they would need the teacher involved in the conversation to be able to understand. Teachers, they have been misled to think that there's now only teachers have been misled to think that they are to now only use challenging texts and just get rid of easy texts altogether. But the article more gears it towards using more informational texts broken up with easier texts, and I think that's really important because it will help the student feel like they're getting somewhere instead of just always putting challenging texts in front of them and never ever using any informational text and easier texts. They'll feel a little bit more like they're getting somewhere. So the article's saying that it still needs a healthy balance. So yes, we're using more challenging texts and less literary texts, but those easier texts, they're still going to be embedded in there throughout. We're not getting rid of them altogether. The fifth legend was most schools are already teaching to the new standards. Some schools have a false impression that the Common Core will not be that great of a change to their current practices because they're listening to what their districts are telling them. But it's kind of a false hope that they're giving schools. Most of our K through 12 students, as this article says, we're meeting state standards now, but most of those kids going to college, they're not meeting college requirements or they're completely failing to graduate. So there is going to be a huge change in the expectations, and our success through this change will greatly depend on how well our teaching practices truly target the necessary needs of students. So the point is that it has to happen now and not later. Their practices have to change now. If we wait, the backlash from society is going to be huge and completely detrimental when they see where our students really are. My big reservation through this is just, it has to do with the amount of communication that's really going to be needed in getting the parents and the communities really aware of the goals of the Common Core standards just as much as the teachers in the schools understand it, so that everyone's on the same page, and that when they will see that big gap in achievement when the Common Core standards and that assessment data comes out, it won't be such a huge uproar. So I hope my explanation helped you, and that was The Common Core Ate My Baby and Other Urban Legends by Timothy Shanahan. Okay, thanks.